So again, welcome. We're very glad that you're here, and welcome to those of you who are online with us today. We are very excited about our meeting. We have a full program today. We will begin with the National Anthem played by our guest pianist, Tom White, followed by the invocation and four-way test with Kay Atkins.
Thank you, President Melinda, God of the universe. We appreciate the blessings of the past, which give us hope in the future. Help us to actively pursue peace and goodwill in our work environment and in our neighborhoods. We will listen and we will learn. We are grateful for all the people who grow our food and for those who strategically plan and implement getting it to us. We bless all those who handle our food, from the farmer to those who transport and warehouse it, and to all the grocery store employees who manage the displays, answer our questions, provide safety and security, and who serve as checkers. Bless all those behind the scenes and in the front lines graciously serving the public. We appreciate their dedication and commitment to helping us be healthy. In this season of light for so many of faith, we celebrate joy and family and togetherness. We are grateful for the food we have received today and for those who prepared it and served it. Amen. Now let us repeat the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated. Next, we will have our prospective members, visitors, and guests introduced by Ed DeVoid, followed by a presentation of our meeting sponsor and announcement by Jim Yunker of the Yunker Group. Ed?
Thank you, President Melinda. We've got quite a number of visitors today. Mario Dominguez with Retail Odyssey is a guest of Melinda Kelly. Please stand. There we go. Rob Hageman with Edward Jones is a guest of Rick Flynn. We also have Ron Hollenbeck, the Assistant District Governor, is with us today. Ken Kennenston with Engineered Comment. I can't even read my own writing. Sorry. Guest of Al Conscious. Matt Nephew with Liberty Mutual Insurance, a guest of Dan Long. Stephanie Sheard, Steph Style 101, is a guest of Rotarian Steve King. Thank you. Callista Smith with Scale Strategic Solutions is guest of Melinda Kelly. Tasha Stapleton with 3CDC, and Sarah Portman with 3CDC are both guests of Melinda Kelly. Thank you.
Greetings from the Junker Group. I'm not here by myself, but fellow Rotarians Janet Burns is down here. Stand up, Janet, please. And Kay Atkins. Michael Villardo is traveling back from Memphis today. And Don Junker, my boss, is at the veterinarian with one of our dogs. But it's our pleasure to be a meeting sponsor. I think we did it maybe a couple years ago. For those of you who don't know about us, we are a consulting firm exclusively to nonprofits, primarily in the Midwest. Our bread and butter has been fundraising, but about 5 years ago, we branched into C-level executive search. We do a lot of coaching of volunteers who are board leaders, and we have had the opportunity to do a pro bono search in 2012 for Linda Muth, who has just retired. And again this year, on a pro bono basis, we did the search for our new executive director, who you'll meet in a second. Our mission statement and our slogan for the Junker Group is helping others make a difference, which melds, we think, at least those of us in the team that are Rotarians, piggybacks very closely on a service above self. I want to point out there is a slide, if you haven't seen it, is one of our favorite clients, unabashed plug for the American Sign Museum. If you have not been to Camp Washington to see it, we have been helping them since 1999, when the founder had this idea to have a collection of signs. We have done a couple of fundraising campaigns. We did an executive search for their director recently, as well as helping them on continuing to help on fundraising. So American Sign Museum is a treat. Check it out. As I said, we were able to do the search in 2012. We replicated that this year. And I want to ask the members of the search committee to stand. I made some notes to make sure it's alphabetical order. Doug Bolton just walked in. So if you will stand, he's already standing. Perfect timing, Doug. Ollie Hubbard, President Melinda, Steve King, Al Conscious, Deborah Schultz, who's probably here on screen, Susan Wilkinson, who couldn't be with us today, and Owen Rassman. They served ably, working with the Junker Group in the search. I also want to thank all of the members of Club 17 for spreading the word about the opening, and also to those of you who were nominated potential candidates. The selection process was about a 3-month endeavor, and it was, I'm proud to say, a unanimous choice for the new executive director. So, are you ready, President Melinda?
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you I think it's our 6th executive director. Our club has been established now for about 111 years. And with the Junker Group, the search committee, the board, and the members of the Rotary Club of Cincinnati, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you to our new executive director, Sarah Pattison. Sarah.
Thank you, Melinda, and thank you, Jim. It was an honor working with everybody. I'm a Cincinnati native. I live in Oakley with my husband, my 6-year-old daughter, and my 3-year-old son. I've owned my own event planning business the last 5 years, where I've planned nonprofits, social events, and corporate events. And recently I've had a calling to the nonprofit space. So I'm very excited to meet all of you and be a small part of all the amazing work you guys do in Cincinnati. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and welcome. Next, we will have new member introductions. We have 3 new members to be introduced to our club, and we're really excited about our new members. Rick Flynn, Andy Magenheim, and Molly Riddle will introduce our 3th new Rotarians of the Rotary Club of Cincinnati.
Thank you, President Melinda. Shane Dixon and I met back in 2013 when he was a student at Xavier University. I was his mentor in their mentor program, and we've been friends ever since. He had previously joined our club, and now he's returning. So Shane is a returning Rotary member, coming back after 2 years in Denver, Colorado. After graduating with a finance degree from Xavier University, Shane went on to work for the Fifth Third Bank in their leadership program and moved on to their digital department to build financial solutions beyond the bank's physical locations. In his time at Denver, Shane built a financial app that helped people save money toward their financial goals, focused on those who typically struggle to save and don't know how to get started. Over a 2-year span, Shane's small team helped Fifth Third customers save over $50 million. Shane now works for a software company, House Call Pro, that helps home service professionals such as HVAC, plumbers, and electricians run their businesses. They hope to build a bank specifically for these small businesses to support them through their challenges. In his free time, I didn't know you had any. He enjoys playing basketball, watching Cincinnati sports teams, movies, and spending time with family and friends. He's looking forward to being an active member at our club and supporting Cincinnati as a Rotarian. Please welcome back Shane Dixon.
Good afternoon. Today, a lot of people might already know Patsy Bond. She's the Community Relations and Development Manager at the Cincinnati Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. She's been there since 2006. Patsy is joining Rotary. She has a master's in English literature from University of Cincinnati. She's used her writing skills throughout her life, working for several fundraising institutions for more than 20 years, 15 at CABVI. Her current position includes community relations, fundraising, grant writing, publicity, and public speaking. Patsy loves to teach yoga and IQM, which is integrative quantum medicine, an energy healing modality. Her mission in life is to love and serve. Please welcome Patsy to the Rotary.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have the distinct pleasure of reintroducing you to a young man by the name of Jim Young, who was a member of our club 25 years ago. Jim is a lifelong resident of the Cincinnati area, and he grew up in northern Kentucky, and he's been residing in Hyde Park for about 50 years now. Jim's married to Linda from Lexington, Kentucky, and they are the proud parents of Susan, who lives in Mount Lookout, and Melinda, a resident of Columbia, Tennessee. Jim and Linda have 5 grandchildren, and they are all well above average. He underlined that. Jim was formerly a forensic chemist with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and more recently served as a sales operations analyst with a software development company. Jim is a graduate of Union College and the University of Kentucky, and he's rejoining us, as I mentioned earlier, and looks forward to serving and building new relationships. I give you Jim Young.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give another round of applause for our new members, new Rotarians. Next, we will have Women in Rotary update with Amanda Forsey. Amanda.
Do I have any barbecue lovers in the house tonight? All right, I know I have more than a couple. Okay, a few. Pudding lovers? Anybody love some good vanilla chocolate pudding? About the same. Okay, well, the Women in Rotary invite you out to Pig Candy Barbecue next Wednesday. It's on Kellogg Avenue. I've had the pleasure of helping this business open up this past summer. Amazing place, great food. We're going to have the place all to ourselves to enjoy a great dinner, fellowship, and fun. It's from 5:30 to 7:30. Please send me or Christy an RSVP so we can make sure we have plenty of delicious food. Hope to see you there.
Next, our additional announcements. We have several birthdays last week and this week. If you are here and would stand, we would greatly appreciate that. And then if you could hold your applause to the end, it's a long list. November 23rd, Mary Brandstetter. November 24th, Glenn Scherzinger. November 27th, Sid Taylor. November 28th, Al Conscious. December 2nd, Michael Schmidt, and also Stephanie Bird and Tom Zumbio for December 2nd. December 3rd, Jim Scott, and December 4th, Barb Saunders. Let's give them a round of applause and wish them a happy birthday. Next, we will have Split the Pot, and we will have our guest speaker today, Niklas Braese, choose the winning ticket. The last four digits are, well, let me tell you first of all, today's winner will receive $59, and the rolling pot now is $1,002. So get your tickets ready. The last four digits are 1288. Any guest can receive the winning pot, the total winning pot for the ticket drawn, and then only Cincinnati club members can receive the actual accumulated pot. And we have a winner. Is that Dornetti? I think that's Jeff Dornetti. Oh, 9 of clubs. Next time. So get ready for the next Split the Pot. We are over $1,000 now, so we're looking forward to next week too. So let's get ready for it. The professional development series will not meet again today. That has been postponed, that series. That's Russell Smith. Russell, would you stand? Russell is over our professional development series. Give Russell a round of applause. We're going to move that presentation to another date. So stay tuned for a rescheduled date for that professional development program with Brent Seelmeyer. He's looking forward to speaking with us, but we will move that to another date. The invoices for January through June billing cycle were recently either emailed or snail mailed to you, so please look out for those. We are asking for your payments in, please, by December 7th. Our office has to communicate and make our transactions with Rotary International by the end of the year. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to call the Rotary office. Also remember that our office moved from the 21st floor to the 41st floor, so that number is 4192. It is, if you would update that if you're mailing in your payment. Of course, you can contact Christy in the office regarding credit card payments for your invoice. Family of Rotary, Rotarians Hux and Ariel Miller are excited to announce that their son Bennett just completed a tour with his band, Ghost Hounds. They were the opening act for the Rolling Stones. So I thought the note that I was getting was saying they were going to come and do a performance for us here at the Rotary Club meeting, but maybe that'll be in the future. Let's congratulate Rotarian Cheryl Parker and her husband Kenneth, as he has been confirmed by the Senate to be the top federal prosecutor for the southern half of Ohio, serving 5 million people. Let's give Kenneth a round of applause. We're sad to share that one of our newest corporate members, Brian McGilligan, passed away November 26th after a courageous battle. Please keep his wife, who is also a Rotarian, Dr. Becky McGilligan, and their children Zoe and Max in your thoughts and prayers. And also our member Meredith, who works in that office with them. Right now, if you could lift them up in prayer, that would be greatly appreciated. And also continue to keep Jack Horner's family lifted. And also, I spoke recently with Rotarian Bill Stilley, and he's a little under the weather, so he asked for your thoughts and prayers as well. Next week, our guest speaker will be Jack Brendemeyer, CEO and co-owner of Junk King. And that should be a really exciting presentation. But before we move on to the program for today, which we're really excited about, Owen Rassman asked if he could just share one quick announcement to everyone. So, Owen?
Hopefully you didn't delete them real quick. It goes until next Wednesday, so you still have an opportunity. We did have a match for $2,000, so we did get a $2,000 match because of this past week. So when you get back to your office or home, you'll have another email link from me where you can click on it and go straight to the site to make a contribution if you get a chance. I appreciate it.
Owen, would you just reiterate what the title of that was again so they can look out for it?
Well, it'll be from me. So you pay attention to all that, but it's Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday.
And we have our own Rotary, 100% of the proceeds that go to our Rotary Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Owen. Next, we will have the introduction of today's program by past President Al Conscious.
Thank you, President Melinda. As a public service, there's another email you should look out for. If you get anything with the heading of pork, salt, preservatives, and ham, do not open it. It's spam. Okay, today we're very pleased to have a very interesting speaker from Kroger. Niklas Braese is the group manager of product management for technology and digital at Kroger. Nick joined Kroger in 2018 and is responsible for leading product teams that use technology in forecasting, replenishment, inventory visibility, order management and optimization, warehousing, and logistics. Nick started his IT career in supply chain consulting for Accenture, where he worked with Cardinal Health to implement a supply chain traceability for prescription pharmaceuticals. He then founded an IT and supply chain consulting company, which he led for 5 years. In 2012, he joined a German startup that had a patented process for optimizing industrial heating and cooling systems. Nick was responsible for productizing the patent and leading the development of the IT systems. In 2015, he joined Unlimited Systems, a company that provides revenue cycle and claims filing software to oncology practices in Microsoft Cloud. So after that resume, I had the pleasure of saying to him before the meeting, "So, do you know how to run PowerPoint?" And then I thought he could probably disassemble it and reassemble it. Nick holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Services and Technology from Penn State, as well as a Master's of Engineering in Logistics and Supply Chain Management from MIT. Please welcome our speaker, Niklas Braese.
Thank you, Al. All right, I'd like to first thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. It's a great honor to be here and to be able to share basically robotic fulfillment of e-commerce grocery orders. To start, though, I'd like to open it up with a video introducing Kroger.
Everyone knows that hindsight is always 20/20. But for us, it is our 137 years of insight that keeps us focused on our customers. Even in the midst of a pandemic, our growth never stopped. Our drive to serve more customers in more ways grew stronger than ever. And when our customers quickly shift their expectations, we are ready. Providing them what they need, when they need it, how they need it. During a year like no other, we keep our eyes on the future, working, planning, and innovating to give our customers anything, anytime, anywhere. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about technology, supply chains, online or inline. It's about dinner time, baked cookies, and the much-needed comforts of home. This evolution isn't simply our vision of the future. It is a reflection of our past. Every customer, every time, no exceptions.
All right, I love that video because it just showcases so much just how much it's about the people and making sure that we do everything that we can to help and serve the communities in which we operate in, which is also one of our key tenets at Kroger. And so I wanted to first tell you a little bit about Kroger and give you a little bit more information, because I know before I started at Kroger, I knew it was a very large company, and I heard many different things about it, but I didn't realize just how large Kroger was or all of the key things that it stood for that make it great. And so our purpose is to feed the human spirit, which of course means a lot of different things. It's not just about groceries, but it's really doing what's right for our communities and for the people. And our vision is to serve America through food inspiration and uplift. And I'd like to hone in on the uplift part a little bit, because it's uplifting for our communities and to help build them up and to make sure that we do whatever we can to help to donate meals to people in need, to eliminate hunger, things like that. But it's also just a core value that we have within the company. And in fact, we typically start a lot of our meetings by asking, what's some uplift? What's something good that's happened to you today? It could be something personal, it could be something professional. It doesn't matter. Let's focus on the good. And so today, I'd actually like to do something similar right now, and I'll give you two examples of some uplift for me in my case. On a personal note, my daughter, who is 5 years old, she's in kindergarten, she was super excited yesterday when she came home because she managed to hit the reading level 3 in her kindergarten, which meant that she got to take home a new book that she could bring home and practice with us. So that was super exciting, made her very happy. The second good uplift is actually some news from this morning that's on the professional side. So today was the Q3 earnings release for Kroger, and the analyst expectations were that we were going to hit an EPS of 66 cents, and we beat that by about 10%, hitting about 78 cents per share. Additionally, our revenue was almost $700 million higher than expectations. Then a few more fun facts about Kroger. So we operate more than 2,800 stores in about 35 states. And under 20 banners. A banner is what we call like the chain. So that could be the Kroger banner, that's the primary one, but then we have other ones like Smith's, Ralph's, Food for Less, and so on. We are the nation's largest grocer. Our sales in fiscal year 2020 were almost $133 billion. We are also actually the largest florist in the country. This last year, we actually became one of the top 10 e-commerce companies. Our digital sales grew by 116% in fiscal year 2020, and this morning we announced that on year-over-year growth was 103% for this past quarter. We have about 500,000 associates throughout our companies, and we serve over 60 million households. And finally, we carry more than 1 million unique products and work with over 30,000 suppliers. And so for those suppliers, that's both the suppliers who actually provide the food products, but also it could be the suppliers for like grocery bags or other products like that. So a few years ago, we started a partnership with a company called Ocado. Ocado is a British retailer, and they are very focused on automation and automated warehouses. So they came up with a concept where they have buildings that they call sheds, and in those sheds they have autonomous robots that then go and fulfill e-commerce orders. And I'll show some videos and give you some details on what that looks like here shortly. But the intent of the partnership was, one, so that we could better serve the e-commerce needs of our customers, and that also to give us an opportunity to expand out to new markets, as well as serve the existing markets in a new and exciting way. The other focus is on making sure that we're really doing what our customers are asking of us. So in e-commerce, when we're working with pickup, we have a lot of challenges that we have to overcome. For example, when we're trying to fill e-commerce orders and we look at the inventory that we have on hand in a store, because it's a store, what we don't know, for example, at the moment that a customer places the order is whether a customer has those products in their shopping cart in the store at that moment, right? So it makes it really hard to estimate just exactly what inventory we can actually offer to our customers. By having a warehouse that's robotic and automated like this, we have more of a controlled inventory environment, which then means that we can provide better experiences and better fill rates for those orders. And another part of it is it allows us to speed up how fast we can fill those orders and how well we can serve those customers, and ultimately reduce the costs involved in those e-commerce order fulfillment. So in the last few years, we've been able to open up several facilities now. So at this time, we are at 3 facilities. Our first facility was opened in Monroe, so on the north side of the Cincinnati. And that facility went live, wow, when did it go live now? It went live in April of 2020. And so that facility now is serving the greater Cincinnati market area. In fact, when you order a pickup or a delivery order, there's a very good chance that that is being fulfilled out of the shed that's here in Monroe. We have also opened a facility in Groveland, Florida, and so that is a new market for us where we do not have any physical retail locations in Florida, and that has been doing fantastic, that location. And the third facility that is opening is actually opening right now. So we have started some of the operations there, and we're doing our initial testing in the Atlanta area, and we will be making it live to the public very soon. All right, so here are some renderings for the facilities, what they look like from the outside. It's very typical to just a modern warehouse. That's really what it looks like. It doesn't look all that special from the outside necessarily, but when it gets to the inside, that's when it gets interesting. And so on the inside, there is, even though it's a robotic warehouse, there are going to be a number of associates that work in each and every one of our sheds. In fact, there's about 400 different associates that work in one of these facilities, as well as a number of Ocado associates who are responsible for maintaining the robots and making sure that they manage the hive, as we call it. And I'll explain what the hive is here shortly, right here. So this is an example of what it looks like on the inside, and what you see here on the left is a picture of the robots. They kind of look like boxes on wheels, right? And so they have two wheels going in each direction, and they traverse on a grid on basically an XY plane. So they can go back and forth, and they are connected via a wireless system that is in the facility, and they are autonomous. So there's not, these move around the facility, and there's no driver for them. Each facility has hundreds of these robots flying all around, collecting the different items for the orders. So this is kind of what that looks like, is where you have the grid on the top with the tracks on the top that the robots traverse on, and then underneath the grid is where the totes are that have the products that we pull out. So the robots, what they do is they stop over one of the totes, and then they have a mechanism where they can reach down and grab the tote and the products out, and so that they can basically get those items up for the order, and then they move on to the next space. And there are multiple totes stacked on top of each other, just basically to make everything a little bit more efficient and dense in terms of what's covered in the hive. On the outside of the hive, then there's a number of associates that when a truck comes in with new product, they unload it, or they decant it, as we call it, and then they fill in the new totes, and they load the totes into the hive so that the robots can then go around and pick those new products as needed. So what it looks like from an order flow perspective is, so about 80% of the inventory that we have in one of these sheds comes from one of our other Kroger distribution centers that we have throughout the country. And then about 20% of the products is what we call DSD product, or fresh kitchen product. So DSD products are things that are like vendor managed inventory type deals, where you might have vendors like Pepsi or so that they typically fill the shelves for these types of things. But in the case of an e-commerce order and the shed, it has to be done a little bit differently. And then there's some products that are also not fulfilled by the robots themselves. For example, the slicing of deli meat is something that we don't have the robots do. So, yeah. So then when the product comes in, right, it comes in the truck, and like I said, we unload the truck, we decant the truck, we fill up the hive, the robots pick the orders, with the exception of things like the deli meats and certain frozen items and things like that. And then when an e-commerce order comes in, basically when that's been picked, what happens is we batch all of the orders together that are on a route, and then we put it on a truck. Now, when it comes to a truck, there's actually a handful of different scenarios that can happen. And so one is that truck goes to a customer store for a pickup order. So that's basically for the customer. They're generally not aware that that order wasn't even picked at that store, that it was picked at a different warehouse. Another scenario is that delivery van actually goes and does delivery direct to your front doorstep. And so that's where you can either do a delivery to your doorstep, where you just kind of leave it there and move on, or where, we'll ring the doorbell and then interact with you and get it there. The final version is actually where we take the truck and we bring it to what we call a spoke location. And so that's to extend the reach of how far we can deliver orders to. So for example, the Monroe facility, we have a spoke in the Columbus area. So that means that the truck will drive to the Columbus warehouse, and then from there we might have other trucks that then do delivery routes in the Columbus area as well. All right. So before I open it up for questions, I'd like to really quickly show you a video where you can see the robots a little bit more in action, and then I'll take questions. Yes. I'm actually not sure if we do public tours right now. I know for internal associates, but that's something I could look into.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
Do they ever run into each other? It seems like they would eventually.
Yeah, generally they don't. Usually, if that were to happen, it's more of a mistake in something that happened.
Okay, well, that's great, but one last question. When I go to my favorite Kroger, and I've been a lifelong Kroger customer, I have a real problem when there's only one worker behind the deli counter. The last part of your distribution, it's really slowing down.
Yeah. So the deli orders, they can be a challenge. Now, what I will let you know, though, is actually there is an Kroger Fresh app, and you can what you can do with the app is actually you can place your deli order online ahead of time and then just go and pick it up for many locations. That doesn't work for every location. Yeah. Lots of questions. I'm not sure where to start. Go ahead, sir.
With your level of sophistication and education, let an old man ask you a question. Do you use the concept of economic order quantity to stock your stores?
Very good question. And so economic order quantity for supply chain is usually, a very good starting point when you're trying to set inventory policies and figure out the best amount to replenish a store or a shed. But oftentimes, as you go further down the road, it's not usually, at least not in its pure form, isn't usually the best way to end up at. So typically, for a lot of our facilities, what we like to use is actually more of a periodic review policy, which is based off of an EOQ typically. And that is also because it helps, it gives a little bit of consistency in terms of scheduling trucks and giving patterns, which a lot of our vendors like.
So it's not personal when you don't have my stuff?
No.
I have a question over here.
Yeah.
Or this way. Is it one robot per order? So one robot is charged with one customer's order and they see that order all the way through?
It is not. It is any number of robots that end up going, and some robots will just pick up a tote just so that they can get to the tote underneath. So it's all a giant mesh system. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So 2 questions. Number one, as you go to more and more robotics, do you see getting to the point where you will no longer have the checkout clerks, that everything will be done as you put it into your basket and will be charged to your credit card, and you'll eliminate that front end of the store? That'd be question number one. Question number 2 is, as you continue to use more and more robotics, does Kroger have a goal in terms of employee elimination, that, trying to drive down costs? Obviously, the grocery business is a very narrow margin business. Do you see this as a way to continue to drive down the employment level within the company?
It's a great question. And so generally speaking, we see this as something to supplement more than replace. And so especially with our e-commerce business that has grown tremendously over the last several years. If you think about that, I think in 2013, we didn't even have e-commerce per se. We really just had an informational website, and since then, we've become one of the top 10 e-commerce grocery retailers. So it has been all about supplementing, and I personally don't foresee it replacing checkout counters in their entirety or anything like that, because what we've seen is that a lot of our customers, there's some customers that prefer that in-store experience and being able to pick out their own fresh produce and things like that. And that they liked having that engagement and working with a person, and then others prefer the exact opposite type of experience. So no, I don't see it as a full replacement.
How long I can't imagine that you're not moving towards driverless vehicles with this system. It did not appear that you're using them yet. How long do you intend to expect that next step?
Yeah, so actually one of the other things that we do is we have a partnership with Nuro, which is an autonomous delivery company. And so we are doing and have been doing pilots with them over the last several years, We started first in Phoenix and then went to Houston now. And so we are testing out autonomous vehicles as well. Having said that, autonomous vehicles have their own challenges and have some restrictions as well that we are learning. For example, when you, they'll go to the curbside, but they won't go, say, to your front door, which is great for some people, but it's not great for all people, right? Some people, they intentionally pick delivery because it's difficult for them, maybe for mobility reasons or so on, and so then they don't want to have to be able to go to the curbside and pick all of their groceries out. And for others, it's great because they can go in, type in a code, which will open the doors, and then they can get their groceries. So that's a different type of autonomous vehicle that would be for much larger units. For the Nero vehicles, they're fairly small. They're maybe half the size of a small car, and they only go like 25 miles an hour within a 2-mile radius for those vehicles. I mean, what you're looking at is a different type of truck, which maybe in the future, who knows?
Monday, I drove past your Monroe shed and was curious as to what was going on in there. Now I have more enlightenment. But with what you were showing there, with the hive, I believe, as you call it, and all this grid, and so you've got all these different containers there, and the robots are drawing inventory from down below. Say if one of those units, those hive storage boxes, runs out of inventory, how do you replace that inventory? That's the first part. And then, that's the first question. And then the others, like most every place else, out in front of it I saw signs, now hiring, blah, 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 blah. So with that facility and it being highly automated, what sort of skill set are you looking at for the potential employees to come in there? And what's your starting wage for a facility like that? Thank you.
Great questions. So in terms of restocking the inventory, so first off, the system knows exactly what's in every single tote at any given moment. It knows exactly when a tote should be empty and how many of each type of product are in every single tote. And so then you can, because like you said, it's stacked up high, so you can go down below actually and pull out the totes on an as-needed basis, so you can go then and refill them. And so that's how that part. In terms of the skill sets, there's a number of different skill sets that we need for operating one of these sheds. And so, like I said, we have people doing slicing of deli meats and things like that. We have people picking the frozen items. We have people unloading the trucks and decanting the product, which basically means taking the pallets apart and so on and getting the product into those totes so that we can refill the hive. There's delivery drivers. It's many different ones. In terms of the starting salaries, I'm actually not entirely sure just what the range is for the various different rules of the starting salaries off the top of my head right now.
Nick, Business Courier had a story about Centerville's Kroger and drone testing. What's the status on that?
Yep, so that's another thing that we are testing right now. You're correct. That is in Centerville, where we're doing tests with drone delivery and trying out different things, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and what's well received with the customer. And so, give you this just as insight because it's a fun little tidbit. Like one thing that we're testing is because we have to maintain FAA regulations with these drones, right? And so that means that when you go to a certain height and so on, they have certain requirements. And so typically when we go in and make a delivery, they want us to be basically down, drop the package off, and up as fast as possible. Having said that, the drones don't actually land entirely. So basically they go fairly low, about 10 feet, and then they drop the package. So something like eggs probably wouldn't be good for that. But other things are, right? And so that's the trick then, is how do you offer the right types of products, and which products, does that make a sense for, and how large can the orders be that you're packaging? Like lots of different things that we're trying to learn with that.
One of the most important products I shop for at Kroger is ice cream. So walk through how do you, out of one of these automated facilities, start to finish, how do you keep your ice cream cold?
So the ice cream is, the frozen products, a lot of the frozen products are actually not stored directly in the hive. The hive is more for ambient and refrigerated type products, but not for freezer products. And so the freezer products, they would come in on a reefer or refrigerated or frozen truck. And then when it's unloaded, basically we have to maintain the cold chain. And so there's certain rules and guidelines that we have for doing exactly that and for how long it's allowed to be outside of a frozen environment. And then it gets loaded into the freezers in the warehouse, basically, until it gets picked.
Edwin, how do you interface with the providers? I mean, I understand what you do once they're in the hive and once they're in the shed, but how do you get the trucks there to deliver the whatever it is from Procter & Gamble or the suppliers?
Yeah, and so that's where that order flow that I was showing comes in. Basically, most of the products that we have to say from Procter & Gamble or for, other vendors, they go to one of our larger regional distribution centers, and the regional distribution centers, they ship most of our product down to the shed.
And the time and place and the amount of the deliveries are all done through that interface?
The amount, yeah, I mean, so we have a number of different mechanisms for figuring out the right amounts and so on for different types of products. That would probably be too much to get into at this time.
Quick question. So I know you have probably automated a lot of your operations, but there's still a lot of human hands that are involved with the labor shortage. How is this impacting your operation or this part of the business?
I mean, labor shortages and the current work environment, I mean, they're difficult all throughout the company, right? And so, yeah, I mean, when that does happen, right, it means that we might not be able to fill quite as many orders, but we have ways of basically limiting the capacity of how much we offer to our customers so that we don't disappoint. There are challenges all throughout, but I do feel like we are managing them as best as we can.
One of the reasons I still go to the grocery stores is I like to pick out my own produce, because when I've done the pickup orders, it doesn't always look very good by the time it gets to me. And that are meat, like going to your fresh meat department. So how do you automate those things to keep them from being, especially like lettuce or other things that bruise, vegetables or fruits that bruise, how do you keep them whole and in good shape?
Yeah, I mean, so the robots, they have a certain way that basically, they pull the entire tote out, so they don't actually touch the produce itself. And then they basically deliver the tote out on the side so that it can then be manually picked with great care.
I noticed in your presentation that you had plastic bags. Are you going to deal with recycling and that kind of stuff in your this program?
So that's something that we deal with, I mean, throughout the entire company, and depending on the region, we have to have different approaches for what we can do, because certain states and certain municipalities, are trying to eliminate plastic in general in their entirety. So we do have some locations where we actually don't use bags like that at all. So it varies, but yeah, we generally try to be good with anything with recycling or anything as much as we can.
How many robots do you have working at one time, and how many people do you have overseeing those robots, and what would a typical problem be where you'd have to shut things down?
I don't know that I know the exact, range of how many robots are, because it varies a little bit by facility size. Not all facilities are the exact same size, but definitely in the hundreds range. In terms of how many people oversee it, it's a handful. Basically, you kind of saw it in one of the videos for just a second, but there is like a monitoring station, and that is actually housed by or manned by an Ocado associate. And if they notice a problem, because stuff can go wrong, maybe one of the wheels malfunctions or something like that, what they can do is they can shut down portions of the grid so that no accidents happen, and then they can go and get the robot fixed. I feel like there was a third part to your question. Am I forgetting one part? Oh, fair enough. Yep.
Suppose I lived in Columbus, and so that makes me part of your Mason facility. How long would it take me to get my groceries if I lived in Columbus?
So in terms of how long, so it's a little bit interesting for how I should answer this, because so in terms of when you place your order, right, so there'll be a certain amount of lead time that's built in automatically for us to be able to get that order for you, right? Because you pick a time slot basically for when you place your order in the checkout experience, you say, okay, here are some possible times, and then it'll say 5 p.m. That's the time, and so that means that you will get it in the 5 to 6 p.m. hour then.
So what percentage of your revenue is driven by home delivery and pickup versus in-store sales?
I don't know that I can give exact numbers on that, but it's at this time, it's our in-store sales are definitely the majority still.
One last question, or is that?
What's the impact to the carbon footprint relative to a automatic delivery versus picking up in the grocery store?
That's a great question, and I don't know that we have done studies on the difference on the carbon footprint. I mean, pickup at stores also means that someone is driving to the stores, right? As opposed to, usually when you look at these things, economies of scale is a big factor, and how many vehicles end up driving in total. But I don't know that I could give you a good answer on the difference in carbon footprint at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick, for that great presentation. Very informative.
That was great. I want to thank Ken Keniston, my guest out here. Through his contacts at Kroger, he helped arrange this program, so thank you. We have a nice pin for you, too. I'll give it to you later.
Sometimes when you're up here, it gets a little bit crossed up with the messages. But Nick, I wanted to let you know that we will give a donation to Rotary International in honor of your speech today for the eradication of polio. And we also have a theme pin for you for this year, which is Rotary's motto, Serve to Change Lives. And thank you again for that great presentation. We have several meetings today. We have the Classification Committee meeting in the Julep Room on the 3rd floor, Membership Development Committee meeting on Salon C on the 4th floor. Women in Rotary Committee will be meeting in the boardroom on the mezzanine level. The World Affairs Committee will be meeting in Salon B on the 4th floor. The Environmental Sustainability Committee will be meeting in the boardroom 4 on the mezzanine level, and the Cincinnati Due Date Committee will be meeting in the Rotary office in Carew Tower on the 41st floor. Again, we had a lot of announcements, and again, we thank the Junker Group for their work in securing our new executive director, and also Steve Haber. He offered some support as well, and we have a thank you card to the two of them. Jim Junker will be accepting for Steve Haber, who's not able to be with us today. Thank you very much, and make it a great week. Make sure, thank you to all of the guests that we have today, and make sure you invite someone else to come to our meeting next week when our guest will be Jim Brendemeyer, CEO and co-owner of Junk King. Meeting adjourned.